as you'll notice by the title in this video where I say all men follow the dark side path of the Force. What I mean by that is, if you were to look at male politics in general, especially the more patriarchal kind, you would see a lot of similarities to the Sith. Even the expanded universe versions. A lot of the modern, well, not modern right, the reactionary right, a lot of the people on the internet are espousing the rule of one, that is, the monarch Sith, where in expanded universe, there was one Sith to rule over the entirety of the Dark Jedi and represented the goals and ethics of the Dark Jedi. And there's a lot of patriarchal people that support this clause. The more common right-wing philosophy is what we know typically to be the Sith in the Star Wars trilogy and the episodes before it, the rule of two. That is, there is one to command and one to obey. This is the capitalist mode of patriarchy. This is that every man is essentially a Sith master or Sith slave in the making, and it is up to him to become the master and to have a slave of his own. So, what this comes down to is the fact that, you know, before the patriarchy solidified in the entirety of the planet, there were many tribes and things that had more of a matriarchal godlike figure, a goddess. You know, in ancient paganism, they more so worshipped female virtues, compassion, oneness with nature, respect, you know, humility, things like that. It was only later on, like in Rome and Greece and things like that, they started valuing male virtues such as strength, courage, warfare, things like that, competition. This is not to say that male qualities don't have good, but the fact is, too much of it is why we live in the world we do today. Now, you could argue that too much womanhood would lead to an equally bad result, but there's never been a point in history where that's been the case. In fact, the only points in history where women did have matriarchy never led to the general warfare and suffering of the people that happened under the patriarchy, because they do not espouse the dark side of the Force. So, what I advocate here, and I understand I am a male, I am not somehow ignoring that fact. I am not somehow ignoring the fact that as a male, I do espouse the dark side in one way or another. But what I espouse is a very untold ethical code of the Sith, a very unpopular version, and that is the rule of none. The idea is that no one should have masters, because if the passion is what drives the Force, then certainly everyone is their own Sith Lord, and no one is a slave. No one can be a slave, no one should be a slave. And because of that, everyone has the potential to reach their own maximum, you know, results. Everyone is their own personal Ubermensch and has to do that the best they can, which means cooperation. It means cooperation with each other. It means respecting one another, you know, trying to build one another up rather than break each other down for your own survival and your own gratuitous gain. And that is a very controversial interpretation of the dark side as far as men go, because all men understand is competition, murder, and destruction. So, this is not to say that I do not have some of those negative qualities, but I try my damnedest to do them in a very positive way. And that's why I vehemently support Femitheists, because she sees it too. She sees that it is in men's nature to be that way. And it's because it's in men's nature, and because men are predominantly involved in politics and in business and things like that, that we have the problems that we do. So, simply reforming it is not going to help. The problem is the male, because the male, by his nature, causes these issues, whether it be the rule of two, or the rule of one, or maybe even the rule of none. The issue is always going to remain the same. Men are driven by violence, hatred, bitterness, revenge, negative qualities like that. That, like I said, that is not to say these cannot have positive results. But we must be aware that as men, we descend from the dark side of the Force. We descend from masculinity, which means we kill, we maim, we destroy, we consume. That is male nature. And understanding that, you have to understand that male nature needs to have limitations compared to female nature. Because where can the negativity come in of compassion, love, forgiveness, honesty, things like that? So that's really all I'm saying, is that because of the patriarchy, there is an imbalance to the Force. I guess that's all I have to say.